Welcome to Collaborate, the podcast that's reshaping real estate success. Whether you're a new agent striving for your first big win or a seasoned producer ready to break into the top 1%, Collaborate is your gateway to elite strategies, global networks, and industry-changing insights. Each episode delivers actionable advice straight from the top 1% of real estate professionals worldwide. This is where you learn the tools, tactics, and high-level techniques you need to scale your business and unlock financial freedom. Don't just survive, thrive. I'm your host, Trevor Bigg, three-time Icon Award winner with over $100 million in sales volume as a solo agent. And if you haven't been invited to the show yet, get your numbers up because this is a space reserved for the elite. Welcome back. I'm your host, Trevor Bigg, and this is Collaborate, the premier podcast for ambitious agents committed to scaling their business. And I'm genuinely excited about today's show because today I'm joined by rockstar agent Brandon Vincent. This is a New Brunswick-based beast who has not only cracked the code for delivering high-impact video marketing, but has more importantly, he's figured out how to successfully leverage YouTube and social media to not only build, but solidify his personal brand. Brandon, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Trevor, thank you so much for that intro, man. That's an amazing intro starting off. So I just want to say thank you very much. And I'm super excited to be here today on this podcast with you. You and I met at EXPCon probably about almost a year ago now, right? In Vancouver, the first Canadian EXPCon. And just kind of shows the impact that this brokerage has, even though it's a cloud-based brokerage, the contacts you make and the people that we become friends with all over the country and all over the world too. And man, I'm super excited to be here today.
I know, big highlight on that. I mean, literally we're on different points of the country. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this really shows the impact that these kind of collaborations can have. If you don't mind.
Coast to coast like butter on toast.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. If you don't mind, give us a bit of a background to your success. How long you been in the game and how'd you get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the business for going on my 7th year coming up at the end of 2024. So you know, real estate's not something I thought that I was going to ever stumble into. It's real funny, right? Growing up, I never thought of myself as a real estate agent. I grew up heavy in like the trades and also in the military. I joined the military at 16 years old. So kind of started working at 14 for a local produce store, just really ambitious growing up, realized that in this world you got to work. And so just started as early as I possibly could. And like I said, never really see myself becoming a real estate agent. Military, I was doing commercial diving for a little while too.
Your background
but one thing
towards real estate.
No, it's not pointing anywhere towards there, but I always loved business and I always was attracted to like the business influencers online. I just love these people that were entrepreneurs because everybody I worked for, my mom was an entrepreneur. Seeing her work for herself was really inspiring. The bosses I had really early on, all small business owners, and just seeing that kind of like grind that they put in and seeing how it changed people's lives locally. I always wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but never really knew how to get into it. One consistent theme throughout my entire life has been I've always pretty well got in trouble for talking. So in the military, I was communications. So I was a radio operator. So that actually kind of paid off well. But then commercial diving, they don't want you literally wasting oxygen. Like it's literally a waste of oxygen if you're talking too much because you're breathing more and you only have so much oxygen to breathe. So they're like, Brandon, shut up.
Yeah.
And then finally I landed in a career where, so my grandfather sold real estate and I started a little business locally doing something completely different from real estate. I had a spa. I had a little spa business with about 3 employees. They were all estheticians. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a chip on my shoulder that I was like, if I can figure this out, then I can do just about anything. And my grandfather was selling real estate at the time. He's like, this guy's a worker. And he's like, man, if you put your efforts into real estate, you will do way better. And, you know, so I took a leap of faith, came over to real estate and he was right. And as soon as I came over, like I had like 6 close friends that were like, dude, that's exactly what you should be doing. And it's just something I really found a passion for helping people.
Yep.
And, you know, I realize a lot of people say that, but I also love the marketing aspect of it. I love the every day is something different. And man, it's honestly something that like, even as I'm here right now, 6 years in, I'm going, I still have so much to learn. Even though I've learned so much over the last 6 years, there's always evolution. And the thing that I love about real estate is that the better I get as a person, the better I can serve people and my clients, and the better I can grow our team around us. Because we have 14 agents now locally here in our province. And so it's like the better I can become, then the better I can help my clients, our organization, people within us, and the better I can kind of just be around my family, my girlfriend, and then that all just, it's self-development that actually helps you grow. And it's super fun, and I'm passionate as I can be about it.
It sounds like it, man. You're not only growing your career, but you're also growing yourself as a person, right? And you're kind of doing it simultaneously. I think that's what's so important, especially when collaborations happen like this, because you create an environment where you're not just competing with people, but you're scaling beside each other. You know what I mean? We're no longer in a competition, but now it's who can get to the top the fastest, and we're all trying to get there, right? And so it's exciting because you want to surround yourself with people who are got the same goals, right? And I think that's how you kind of attract clients to your personal brand, is just being an attractive person.
100%, man, 100%. And it's funny because I just finished reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. What a good book. And it's like, why? Here I am, 31 years old. What took me so long to read that? I have no idea. I thought it was an old relic. I was like, there's no way that me blowing the dust off this book is going to help me learn anything. But the lessons in that book, and in it, he talks about the vibrations and how a positive vibration, how all of our frequencies radiate to other people. So it's like, if we have a positive vibration, other people can feel that. And it literally starts with the way that we think. And it's like, this stuff is so powerful. And it's taken some time to rewire, you know, coming from the background that I came from. Military was really kind of grinding you down, in commercial diving, trades. It didn't really promote this kind of positive mentality, but it's something that I was always attracted to, anybody that had it. And I was like, I want to be doing something that involves more of this positive mentality, because it's like, it is just contagious and influential. And that's where you really start making some big changes too.
Totally agree, man. I see you're halfway through the 75 hard for what, the second time this year?
Second time this year, yeah.
Don't touch on it quite yet. That's later on. I want to get into the personal stuff. For now, I want to kind of focus on the video marketing aspect of things, because I've been watching you and you've been consistent. So, I mean, 7 years in real estate. At what point did you decide video content was going to be the driving force behind your marketing strategy? Because I'm looking on your YouTube channel and I see you've got almost 1.3 thousand subscribers. You've got hundreds and hundreds of views. Did that build over time, or is there something that you've introduced to help you spike those numbers in the past few months?
Yeah, so actually kind of started at the start of this year. So I was really doing YouTube, but inconsistently. I realized there was juices in YouTube when actually my sponsor, Mike Sherrard, he really helped me realize, like, oh, look at the potential through YouTube here, right? How you can put time in. Let's say you spend 3 hours doing a video, you spend a little bit of time editing it, and then a thumbnail, and you put that up there. Well, now that's you having a conversation forever to whoever wants to watch it. So as long as you're delivering something of value, you're actually raising the amount of times that you're talking to people. And then when I really started getting interested was once I realized, like, okay, let me look at the watch time. And this is something I still kind of do on a daily basis. I'm like, looking at my watch time, and let's say I have 200 hours of watch time for the last 28 days. I divide that. And I'm like, well, that's almost 8 hours of talking to people a day on my channel. So it's like, this is a type of prospecting. And for me, I love the scalability aspect of it. It doesn't work right off the bat, but if you keep plugging into it, it's eventually going to catch. And it's just scaling those conversations that you can have. It's super enjoyable, man. So when did I realize that video marketing, I guess it was kind of coming into EXP, because coming from a small province like New Brunswick,
for sure,
even the way that I've been doing marketing, it ruffled some feathers at first. A lot of agents were like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Who do you think you are? I got a lot of that, right? Who do you think you are? You haven't been doing this long enough to be talking. Pretty well, like, everybody was just like, stop doing what you're doing. And it's like,
why should we listen to Brandon?
Well, right. Why should we listen to Brandon? What do you have to say? Who do you think why does your opinion matter? And it's like, all this stuff is like things like I heard from like some family, heard from some friends, some agents, like, and it kind of gets inside your head. So that actually, I think, I don't want to point any blame because I don't like doing that, but I know that messed my consistency up, because I kind of always would get a negative comment or something, and then I'd stop and think about it, go, should I be doing this? But I find what's happened over time is you just start to get thicker and thicker skin. And every time I'd always come back and go, you know what? Screw it. I know I've been gone for a few weeks. I'm going to come back and start making videos again. Because I always knew deep down that's the thing to do. So I always kept coming back to it, and then started seeing the growth. And then just this at the start of the year, just made it my goal. I was like, I'm going to get consistent. And what helped was doing podcasts. That helped with content, doing more home tours. I was like, you know what? I don't even care if it's a glorious home, if it's like a $300,000 home, which is our average home price. I'm like, I'm going to find a way to get good at doing tours on places that are just normal. Cause then it's like, that's going to open up my door of possibilities for a lot of people. And I've had a lot of people reaching out going like, I love the home tours you're doing. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this. Like me getting on there and actually promoting like the neighborhood and what's nearby and kind of making it like a community tour at first and just finding these ways. I'm like, this is a competitive environment. Real estate's competition, right? There's so many real estate agents people can pick from. Everybody can list their home on MLS. That's like the standard that every agent does. Every agent puts a sign up and every agent calls like a similar photographer and gets the same photos done. But it's like, what can I do above and beyond that to provide value so that I know I'm going to be good in any type of market?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, a lot of us agents, I mean, it's not like we're reinventing the wheel when we become successful. It's not like we found some special trick or some hidden secret that nobody else knows. It's people buy into people. We're providing a lot of the same services that other people are. It's just we're doing it a specific way. And so that's why I believe you're successful, I'm successful, is because people have bought into what we have to deliver, not just the business in total, but what do you have to deliver, right? And how can you accurately present that to the public?
Right. And a big part of it too, man. Like I know you're big into fitness. That's a big thing that I watch you on social media and you're up in the morning and you're working out and you're grinding. And it's like that to me, like a lot of people like, why do you spend so much time at the gym? And it's like, well, because the better I can feel, the better I can service people, right? So it's like, if I take care of myself, I'm able to take care of people way better when I'm taken care of, right? I need to get up and make sure I'm healthy, make sure I'm looking good. And I want to show up being my best version too. I'm always trying to push that envelope because I think that's a big portion in business. How are you showing up physically? How are you showing up in the world? It's like, are you taking care of your body? Because if so, then you can probably take care of the majority of situations because it's like, it all reflects how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Very well said. It reminds me of a quote I heard not too long ago that states, "A man who does not empower himself can never empower me."
Right.
You know what I mean? So a leader who does not take the time to lead himself will never be one to lead me, right? So it's like, it starts with you. You can have the best, most successful platform in the world, but if you're not the one taking the steps, no one's going to follow you.
Right. 100%, man. 100%. And it's also too, like, I don't have kids, but I have a little brother and sister. And then I think too, I'm like, I want to be a good inspiration for them too. I want to just push myself. And I just want to like, it's funny. I was thinking about this last night out for a walk. I'm always looking to prove, and I don't even know who it's to anymore. Maybe to myself. Just, I know I can always do better. And it's just always trying to prove that. Like, I know I can do better. Like I just ran a marathon a week and a half ago. And then that was my 4th marathon in the last year, but I've never ran marathons before that. And I'm just like, I know I can do better. I know I can do better. And just trying to keep pushing the envelope on a lot of things. And I think that's the joys of developing in business is like, once you start getting good at stuff, you start stacking what you're good at. And then it all just constantly growing.
And you don't start good. And that's what everybody understand. And I like, rather than fake it till you make it, I like learn to do by doing. You just have to do it.
Learn to do by doing. I like that.
Yeah, you just got to do things. You know what I mean? Nobody knows what to do. Everybody starts with 0 followers and 0 likes and 0 clients, and they just do things. And it either works or it doesn't, but you're going to figure it out way faster by trying than not.
Exactly. And it's hard at first. That's another thing, right? So I was just having a conversation with an agent friend of mine, Evan, on our podcast, and him and I were talking about the levels of hard. And actually, James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy from Calgary, he was talking about this at a conference that I was just at in Nashville. And he was saying how everybody's hard is different. So for him, he was doing 100 Ironmans in 100 days in a row, which is like 100 triathlons pretty well, 100 days in a row. It's crazy. And he was saying like at the end of some of these marathons he was running each day, he'd have people join in. And the last 5K they did, that was hard. But he's like, saying to them, congratulations, because you just did something that's hard for you. Everybody's hard's different. And as long as you're pushing yourself to the point of doing hard stuff, then that's like a win too, right? So it's like when I first started running, 5K was hard. When I first started YouTube, the first video was so hard. So hard trying to figure it out. You got like, I didn't even know what to do. I blacked out the room, had like blackout curtains. I was like in a dungeon pretty well, talking to the camera for, I think it was probably like 4 hours, and I got maybe 20 minutes of content out of it.
Delete.
And I was like, this is so awkward. Yeah, delete. I'm like, geez. And then I'm like over delivering on it, like, hey, everybody, la 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 la, like being too energetic because I didn't even know how to behave. It's just like, and then you start to think about, well, it's so much easier now. Like I would have been nervous as can be to do this podcast, let's say 3 years ago. But the fact that I've been putting myself on camera more, the fact that I've been doing more stuff like this, you just get attuned to it and it starts to become much more natural and flows way better.
I absolutely agree with you, man. Okay, so while we're on video, before we dip into the personal aspect of success, while we're on video, I want to highlight one thing quick. I think it's probably the big question that everyone wants to know. Walk us through your lead generation process. More specifically, Are your videos attracting qualified leads to the platforms that you utilize? And how are you converting those leads?
That's a great question. Yes, through my YouTube this year alone, I've gotten 4 deals, which has right 4 deals. One was a double end, and then one was a client actually from LA who has a Canadian citizenship. I never would have met those people without my YouTube channel.
Absolutely not.
And then the other one was, what is it? Slipping my mind. There was 4 deals though. And then I got another one from Instagram this year too. So technically 5 deals from different social media platforms. And a
How
lot
much
of it
GCI would
is
you say
people
that?
about close to 50,000 GCI.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
So then people ask me, they're like, are you making money from YouTube now? Because they see I have 1,000 subscribers. And I'm like, well, YouTube's not paying me, but I'm using YouTube to make money. Absolutely. And the way that it is, people end up calling me. Here's the weird part. And here's the part where I realized it was so powerful, actually. At the start of the year in February, I had a guy call me. He said, Brandon, I have a multi-unit that I want you to list for me. He said, I'm from BC. I have a 4 unit on the west side of St. John. He said, I need you to list this for me. And I start talking to him on I pull over on the road. I'm in a parking lot. I remember the exact parking lot I was in. And I start trying to pretty well sell myself to him to say, well, I'm qualified to do this. He cut me off within 30 seconds. He said, Brandon, I've been watching your YouTube channel. I already know who you are. I already trust you. I just had a kid. I really don't have that much time to spend on the phone. Let me know what documents you need and I'll send it to you. And I trust you to get this job done. Just tell me what price you think. Tell me what you think. He was like putting it all into my hands. I was not on the phone for 5 minutes with this guy. And he was like, send me the documents. I'll get it signed. I trust you. And
Well,
I
you
was
didn't
like,
even have to do your
whoa.
sales. He listened to it all on YouTube. He was already a warm lead by the time he called you.
He already knew me.
Yeah,
He already knew me. I didn't know him, and that's a little bit strange, but is it ever cool in our business when somebody calls and they already know you? Because it just makes it so much easier to develop that relationship. And that's why I've loved learning to be authentic on camera. Because if I can just be me, which works, let's say 96% of the time in real life, there's always people you're not going to get along with, but it works 96% of the time in real life. If I can learn to do that on camera, then that's an easy way for me to put myself out there so people can feel comfortable approaching me. And it's proven to work. And I just want to scale that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can attribute $50,000 in GCI to video content itself, and the numbers speak for themselves. For anyone out there who's listening right now who's considering introducing video marketing into their business, don't think too hard about it. Just start, because clearly it's an incredible effective tool. Honestly, it reminds me of another great quote. The magic that you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Yes. I think that's beautiful, because so many people, if you just did the things you knew you were supposed to be doing but aren't, you'd be 10 times ahead of where you were.
100%, man. That is a really good quote too. That is, yeah. What you want. So the magic. Say that again.
The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Is in the work you're avoiding. It's so true, because and everybody's going to be different, everyone's going to be good at something different, right? So some people are maybe not as comfortable on camera. And what I say to that is like, just practice, because I wasn't comfortable either. Yeah. But if the cold calling is working for you, if door knocking is working for you, just do what's working, because everybody's going to have a little bit of a different craft, right? I've always loved the marketing. I kind of grew up, I was in theater arts too. So from a young age, I was on stage acting in front of like major crowds. So the whole idea of the major crowds things never really scared me. And I find that's been an edge I've been able to bring into real estate, is like, I'll just throw myself out there. And I know there's going to be people that don't like it. I know there's going to be people that go, don't want to work with that guy, but that's fine, because they wouldn't have wanted to work with me anyway. So it's like, let's get it out of the way. Let's speed up the process.
100%, man. Okay, so theater arts to military to underwater to real estate. Jesus Christ. A little bit of everything. Okay, all right. Let's kind of skip the video stuff then and get a little bit more personal about your rise to success. You hear a lot of agents talk about the business side of success, but neglect to bring in the personal growth it takes to actually become successful. So tell me a little bit more about your personal growth, the personal journey. I know that you're in the middle of the 75 Hard program. What are the things that you're doing to keep your mindset goal focused?
I love that question. So I didn't make a correlation between me needing to become better, to do better at business, until I'd say the first EXP conference I went to. Something in being surrounded by a lot of other successful people really spiked and I started to see patterns instantly, right? The people that are high achievers, they take care of themselves. They're showing up. They're very present. They're not out getting hammered the night before. They're in very good shape. They dress well. There's a lot of things. They hold themselves to a high standard. And it's like, okay. And what I realized, okay, so these investments that we make in ourselves are actually even more important than I realized. Because what I always thought is I had it backwards in my head. And I think a lot of people do when they're starting off, thinking once I get successful, then I'll start working out. Then I'll start getting my mindset right. Then I'll have time. But for now, you feel like all you need is money, right? When you're kind of starting off, you're in this survival mode.
Absolutely.
And I think that's for many starting businesses. They're in a survival mode starting off. And they stop taking care of themselves. And sometimes it works. If somebody can pour themselves enough into the business and they neglect everything else, I've seen it work, but it's normally not the case. It's better to start off. And once I started taking care of myself, once I started realizing going to the gym was the priority, stopping hanging out with friends, going to the bars every single night, starting to focus on the business and focus on me, and then realize, okay, there's still a lot of things, because I started young. I was like 24 years old when I got into real estate, 24, 25. So I kind of still had a little bit of that, like wanting to get that rest of the party years out kind of deal. We're still hanging on to that a little bit. And then, but I realized this isn't good. This isn't going to help my business grow. Nothing like these. I feel like I'm networking a whole bunch, but no, I don't remember anybody's name. Right. I'm like lying to myself. Right. And it was once I started to really focus on running, on like the self-development. Let me start reading some books. And I mean, one of the first times I did 75 hard, I literally noticed a huge jump in my business. And I was like, oh, this is because my energy is different. I'm showing up in the world different and I'm getting more business because of that. And I was just like, whoa, I have chills right now saying that. I have chills right now saying that because this real. Isn't, man, it's ripping through me again because it's the way that you show up is actually so important. And it sounds like fluff. Even like the younger me listening to me saying this right now, I'd be like, this guy's full of BS. But it's like the way that you actually show up and the energy that you bring is going to help you attract more business. Because when you're clear-minded, when you're showing up the best version of yourself, that's contagious to people. They're like, this guy's being authentic, and they can feel that. People feel BS. I think people have very strong BS meters. And when you're BSing someone,
is real.
Right. They know. People have such good filters now that you can't just kind of roll up and fake stuff anymore. Like you need to at least be confident with yourself. And that helps significantly in any situation at all. And once I started doing that, I was just like, okay, now I'm on this train. And I have an addictive personality. And I'm like, that can be a huge weakness, but it can be a huge strength if I use it in the right spots. And I've just started pretty well just turning the ship around and saying, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to start doing in life. And this is where I want to get better. I want to get in better shape. I want to be a better version of myself. I want to have better mental clarity. I want to have better conversations. I want to have better relationships. I want to have better friends. I want to have better peers. And I want to be able to help people better than I currently am, and always point in that direction.
I watched a video the other day, and I want to know if this correlates with your path a little bit. I've seen a video, and it more or less highlighted the fact that every successful person goes through a stage of loneliness where they have outgrown their previous friends, but they have not yet acquired the skill sets needed to have these new friends. And so they're kind of in this middle period where their old friends don't understand why they don't want to come out to the bar, and their new friends quite haven't recognized what's going on yet. Did you go through that journey, or are you still riding with your day ones?
I went through that journey. I definitely did. And I think part of that journey was like, there was points where I'm like looking in the mirror going like, who are you? Because it's like, I knew who I used to be. Doing? What are you doing? Right. Like, how come you're not out doing this with your friends? And some of them I held on to maybe a little too long, but there's still like, it all depends, because some of them have grown with me, and it's not that anybody in my past like isn't a friend anymore. It's just people that I'm associating with less. I'd still call them friends. It's just maybe we don't hang out as much as we used to. I still enjoy my time with them. I still enjoy seeing them every once in a while when I do, but life gets busy. Everybody grows up, and it's like the people that are growing up in the same direction have kind of been around. Like I'm still friends with some people from commercial diving. I was just texting a buddy of mine today. He's out hunting in the deer stand. I'm like, yeah, you need help? Let me know. There's still certain people. It just all depends where life's kind of steered us, right? But I definitely went through a period of what's going on with me. And it's like this kind of I don't know if you call that the imposter syndrome. I even look back like me now from a year ago. I've learned so much. How is it possible to learn and grow that fast? But it's like that's what you want to do. You almost want to make sure that you're always outgrowing yourself too, right?
Your goals are
It's
supposed
like
to
a
make you feel
quote
like you
from
don't
a quote from Matthew McConaughey, and he said his hero is himself in 10 years. Right? It's like I want to look forward to that guy. I want to get to know him. That's my hero, myself from 10 years from now. And then it's you see me in 10 years and you say, "So are you your hero?" You're like, "Well, no, because it's now me in 10 more years. It's me in 10 more years. That's who I'm looking forward to." And
Yeah.
that's the cool part. And it's hard for some people, man, because like you said, you end up in this conflict where you're like, well, this is what I used to be. This is what I used to do. And my friends are asking me to come out and do the same thing. And it is so hard to break that comfortable routine. It is so hard to break it.
The issue is when your friends pull you aside and say you've changed. The problem is, yes, you're absolutely right. Like it is me. I am the one that's changed here. But it's it's like that's like that old saying where do you want to stay comfortable or do you want to grow? Because you cannot achieve both at the same time.
Right. And do you know what I love? Actually, there's a quote that I love, and I can't remember who said it, but they said that when people say you've changed, what they're not saying is you've grown.
Yep. Yep.
That's what they mean, but they're not saying it. So it's not you've changed, it's you've grown. Right? Because
when
it's
you
like,
start
well,
to
yeah, I'm
just
growing into a better version of myself. Like, I'm not waking up hungover and just dreading the day and this miserable energy that I'm dragging around going, I can't wait till I can go back to bed. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm fired up for today. I'm like looking at the calendar, got things blocked in. I'm like, get to the gym, get the workouts in, get on the podcast with Trevor. Like, get another podcast going on after this. Like, bam. And then it's like, there's agents that are in our organization. I want to be a good example for them. I got a little brother and sister. I got family. I got things I want to aspire to. Like, push for all that stuff, all the positive things in life. And it makes you literally not even miss any of the stuff you're doing before. You have to fill those voids with like other positive things. Like find other stuff to do that's pointing you in the orientation, in the direction that you want to go. Orientate yourself and your calendar and your goals, right?
well, and like you said before, the way you hold yourself too, the way that changes you as a person. You walk into a room, personally, if I see somebody walk into a room and I see that they are athletically fit and they're dressed to the nines and they hold their head high, I already know a handful of things about these persons without even talking to them. I know that they're dedicated. I can see it by the way that they hold their body. I can see that they're in the gym every morning. I know that they've got the ability of delayed gratification because that body doesn't just come overnight. It comes through years and years of consistent effort. And so, I mean, you take care of yourself. You walk into a room, you already show off half the things that you need people to know about you.
100%. It's like walking around with a resume that's just who you are, right? Or your resume walking around. And it's, I mean, this is all stuff you learn as you're going, right? I didn't always think that way. I didn't always think like, okay, good shape and I'm taking care of myself, then more business is going to come to me. I thought I need to find a way to make more business and then I'll have time to go to the gym because I don't have time right now because I need more business. And then you just grind yourself down to like exhaustion and your energy's bad and you got commission breath and all this stuff's fighting against you, but you think you're doing the right things. And then in my mind, I'm going, I don't need a mentor. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I know what I need. I just need more business. Come on, work harder. And actually stepping back from it and going, well, what's going on here? How am I doing? Right? Looking in the mirror. There's so many people that have said it, like the man in the mirror. Like, if you want to change the world, change you first. It's like Jordan Peterson says, clean your room. So it's like, don't try to change the world if you can't even organize what you have going on at home. If you can't organize what's going on here. So it all starts there. And then another thing I realized is almost being selfish is an unselfish act. And that was something I didn't realize growing up. Was I always thought being selfish, spending time on myself, doing things for me was selfish. And I shouldn't be selfish and I should give more to everybody until I realized that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour into everybody if you don't have much going on inside. So it's the more I can take care of this, then the better I show up, the more present I am. And it's if it costs you waking up in the morning and not being able to sleep in, that's a great trade for me. I'll wake up early, go to the gym so I can feel good all day, so I can be the best version of myself. And then plus you get big muscles for it on the side. Wicked.
Yeah. Yeah. You acquire a taste for it, right? I mean, of course, the first 30 days, 60 days, even maybe 90 days, waking up at 4:30 or whatever your schedule is, those early mornings suck. And it's not always fun. And you're not always wake up driven to go to the gym and do all these crazy things. But you acquire a taste for it and you start to like it and you start to like the aftermath and you start to enjoy it. And now I'm excited that my alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm stoked to eat my banana before the gym and all these steps that I've now have in place, the whole schedule of my day gets me fucking fired up. You know what I mean? And so I'm not,
for sure. Yeah.
it's not no longer a list of chores, let's say, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, these are all the things I have to do today. It's these are all the things I get to do today. and
that I
it's,
get to do,
yeah,
that mindset shift from I have to
yeah,
wake up, I have to go to the gym. No, I get to wake up and I get to go to the gym and I get to go to this appointment with this client who wants to meet me and I get to show them this house and I get to write them this contract and I get to sell their house, right? Some people, oh, I have to. And even the way that you talk to yourself about it is
big time.
super important. So I love that you just said that. I love that you said that I get to, because that's so true. And that's the way that you have to look at it, right? Even like, especially when you're talking about the early mornings. Oh, I have to wake up at 4:30 because I have to go to the gym because I have this appointment. It's like, well, no, you
You
get to
don't.
do all that. You don't have to do any of that, but you get to. And
Yeah.
luckily we love it.
It's like that. Again, what did I hear the other day? Don't cry about having too much on your plate when the goal was to eat.
I love that, man. I love that.
A few
Alex
times.
Hormozy
I
quote.
think it might be. I've read that quote a few times now, and it really resonates, man, because there's lots of
That's
times where I'm looking at my day and palms are sweaty, and I'm looking at 12, 14 hours of things I got to accomplish today somehow. But again, I think back to that quote where it's like, don't cry about having too much on your plate when this is what you wanted. This was your goal, right? This was the whole
right.
ambition behind what you've started. So don't cry now.
Because it's like the day that you have that's crazy booked, when you first started, you're going, I wish I had a day like that. I wish I had all this business. And it's so funny. There's just so many kind of correlations to how we perceive the business and how sometimes it can feel overwhelming, but this is all good. These are all good problems to have. Like there might be a deal going sideways over here, but like you have a chance to now fix this and show your expertise and call around and learn how to fix this problem. This is all things that you get to do. And I actually get fired up now, where at first this would all be stressful. It'd be like, oh, geez, it's like so stressful. You don't know what to do. But then you shift that mindset to, okay, now I get to
Yeah.
learn something here. I get to really show my expertise and I get to really
To flex my
exercise
real
these.
estate
It's
muscle.
super cool, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, the way you look at it is everything. And it goes back to the Napoleon Hill stuff. Like it's the mindset, right? And the way that you think about things is the frequency that you radiate, and other people can feel that. So when you show up excited to solve a problem, they're like, okay, good. Like Trevor's here. He's excited
Yeah.
to solve the problem. Yes, you instantly feel like at ease, as opposed to like showing up like upset or angry. Okay. And then that just kind of like causes chaos even more. So it's just so important. The energy level and the energy aspect of business is something that I don't even know how to properly explain. I don't even know if that's like quantum physics or what it is, or if there's even a book on it or what, but it's so palpable. It's such a real thing that it matters so much.
Well, and it resonates with clients too, right? When a client is stressing out about a problem and they present it to you, and now you start stressing about that problem, it really amplifies that fucking problem. Whereas when a client approaches you with a problem and then you're like, no problem. Give me 10 minutes. I'll call you right back. I'll let you know how we're going to deal with this. All of a sudden,
Exactly.
you are an expert. You are a master in the field, and they have nothing to worry about. And that's the goal behind every transaction.
Right, exactly. And it's almost something that I learned from the military too. It's like, even if there is chaos going on, you never want to transmit that to the troops below her. So let's say you're getting commands from above, like, look, guys, things are chaos right now. You want to take that to your troops and say, okay, here's what we're doing, and just give them a plan of action, because people just need to know where they're going. What am I doing? What's my job? What do you expect of me? What are your expectations? And then where are we headed? And it's like, if you can have that same mindset, and we'd call it like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this podcast,
A little bit.
like a shit shield. So it's like a shit shield. So you want to shield the shit from the troops. So you want to block that and then just literally tell them the important parts and what they need to do. Even if there's a bunch of chaos up here, we'd always need to take that in and then show up completely calm. And that's such a good tool for business. That's such a good tool for clients too, because it's like, we want to, even if there's something, and 99.9% of the problems are fixable. 99.9% of the problems are fixable one way or another, right? You just get on the phone, figure out who you need to call, what lawyer do I need to talk to, how do we bring these two parties together, how do we fix the issue at the house, what amendment did it, like, it's just, there's just always a solution. So there's no point in getting worked up, because that doesn't help anything.
No, and I think when you're talking about problem solving, you want to really make sure you've got a vast network. That's what I've really leaned on when I've got issues, when I've got problems in the game, when I've got clients raising this or home inspection that went south. I've got a huge network of home inspectors, mortgage brokers, plumbers, electricians, you name it. Almost any problem that you can bring my way, I've got at least 2 or 3 people that I can call and get it figured out ASAP. And that's been a huge driving force of how I've almost built my real estate career, is the fact that if you've got something that's going wrong, I'm going to fix it. That's not a question. You know what I mean? Whether the
Right.
answer is going to be in favor of whoever, no matter what, I'm going to find a solution. And that just is what it is. There's no plan B. And it's
One of my
because
favorite contacts is a lawyer. The
oh,
lawyers,
you got to have a
because
good
they're
one.
so you learn so much from them. You learn so much. I always love calling a lawyer. I'm like, I got a situation, and I got a couple that I send a lot of business to. So it's like, so you build that relationship with them, right? And I
Oh
find
man.
they're the funnest ones to learn from. I like that like legal aspect of stuff too.
I connected with the lawyer. She's now my like number one hot shot. If I've got a deal that's a little bit wonky, she's who I'm calling. Honestly, she's 3 hours out of my city. She's in a whole different town, but she is like the wizard. I had a client who removed subjects, and then a few days later, I find out that she flew to Armenia. And she's planning on staying in Armenia for like the next 6 months. She's got an acting career, and she just assumed that once subjects were removed, that she could just flee the country and that a paycheck would just show up in her account. And obviously not the case. There are still completion documents that have to be signed. And so the deal was only half done realistically, right? And she flew off to Armenia. And so, of course, I call her and what are we going to do here? And like I was just talking, she said, Trevor, give me 10 minutes. I'll give you a call right back. And she did. And she had a notary in Armenia who was able to connect with my seller, who brought the whole thing together, and it complete on time, no hiccups, and amazed to know people.
100%. 100%. I love those stories. I love those because it's like, then I learned something from that too, right? It's like, just goes to say 99.9% of the problems are fixable. Your client was in here. They found a lawyer where she was at, and where was it? Romania?
Armenia.
Armenia. Right. So, right. Finding somebody over there. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, no, it was wild. Okay, at this point in your career, man, what are your goals for next year? Because we're rounding up to Q4. We're kind of coming to the end of Q4. Was a great year. I think that the market in general throughout Canada is starting to shape up and kind of present a stronger market for next year. But what are your goals, man? Are you trying to double production? Are you aiming to grow a team? What does Brandon have in store for the future of New Brunswick's real estate scene?
Absolutely. So the goal for next year, and what I'm realizing has been working really well, is something that we started this podcast off with, is the marketing.
Yeah.
And I think my goal for next year is to double down on marketing, because I hear a lot of people saying, hey, see what you're doing with marketing. It's really huge. I've been seeing you a lot more lately. And in my mind, I'm going, I could actually go much harder. Like, this isn't that hard for me. And I think I could pour more into this and make it even more fascinating because it's working and I actually love doing it. So it's like, find the things that you love to do and do that, and then outsource things. So I have my girlfriend, she got a real estate license and she's been licensed out for 2 years, helping me in the business and helping our organization, our local agents here. She's like pretty well a licensed realtor transaction coordinator. So she's helping with all the paperwork. This is all stuff. It's like, I can do it, but I'm not great at it. She's really good at organizing things, and it frees up a lot of time for me to focus on the marketing and I love marketing and I love client management. So like going through the deal. Yeah. So like the client management, going out, relationships, going out, seeing people for coffees, like just doing random drop-offs. Like I just dropped off pumpkins to 30 clients. I had to pick and choose because I'm like, I've done 100 deals in the last 6 years. There's deals I've forgotten about. I need to go back and look here. So my goal for 2025, double down on marketing. It's funny because my goal for this year was to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I'm like, I did that before Q4, which is super cool, was to attract 10 agents. Because when we started in EXP, there was just myself and Evan Young, who you know as well. And it was just him and I in our organization. We now have 14 agents that we've brought in locally here. And I'm like, okay, we can double that or triple that for next year. Easy. So there's that aspect. The production, yeah, I guess doubling would be a good metric. I always shoot super high. When I first came into business, I was like, I want to make $250,000 my first year. And that was probably good for me to do because I did 20% of that. But if I set that ambitious goal, then if I aim for the moon, land on the stars, land on the right. So it's I like setting really high intangible goals that scare me a little bit. And even if I don't hit them, I'm normally still impressed. I'm like, that was still the best year I've had yet. So that's kind of the way that I operate. So yeah, so probably double transactions and probably go for Icon next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you do to ensure you're hitting those goals? The reason I ask is because I've met two types of successful agents. Ones that put a plan in place with daily actionable steps, and ones who follow more of a rule of maximum effort equals maximum results and tries to consistently do as much as possible. I've seen both strategies work. What's your style?
I don't know if I have ADHD, but some people say I do. I've never been diagnosed with it. I go to the gym to fix that. That's not a medical suggestion. But for me, I get distracted easy. So I'm like all over the board. And if I start working on one thing, I find sometimes what I do is I tend to start a lot of stuff and then I'll leave a bunch of projects unfinished and have a bunch of things half boiled.
A lot of people
So
have that
what I need
problem.
to do is I need to put everything into a calendar. So pretty well I have like wake up 6 a.m., get to the gym, back for 8, kiss the dog, clean the kitchen, kind of like home
What do you
things, and
use
then
for a
9 a.m.
calendar?
start. I just use Google. I just use the Google, or sorry, no, I'm just using my Apple calendar.
Perfect.
Yep. So I just literally put it on there because it's like the simplest thing. I had Notion. There's certain ones I find just too complicated. I need simplicity. I need simplicity, quick in, out. And so for me, it's putting stuff into a calendar. So what I do almost every quarter, a really good book that I read is The 12-Week Year. Have you read that?
Okay. No, I haven't.
Highly recommended. So the 12-week year says everybody sets goals for a year when that leaves a lot of room for fluff because setting goals for a year, you can kind of start fluffing around the first quarter and be like, I still have 3 quarters left, so I'm still gonna be able to hit my goals. When it's like set your yearly goals and then make that into quarterly goals, 12 weeks. And then every 12 weeks, what you should do is you sit down and you review how you made out those last 12 weeks. And it technically says to do it like weekly. Like every week, you should be looking and going, okay, did I do what I need to do this week? But it starts off with 12. So then have it down into quarters and then take those. So let's say, for example, I want to do 15 deals in the first quarter or something. So then it's like, how many conversations do I need to have? And then, so then you figure that out. And it's like, how am I going to have those conversations? What do I need to do to have those conversations? Well, you need to break it right down into little actionable items. So for me, like making content, is that door knocking? Is that cold calling? Because you need to put those right into the calendar and then make it the actions instead of trying to get the goals. Because it's like everybody wants to hit the 500,000. Everybody wants to hit the $1 million kind of deal, but it's the actual little items that are going to get you there. So it's the marketing, it's the door knocking, it's all those things that aren't glorious. So I actually love this quote here. I heard this and Kobe said this. So this is from Kobe's mindset coach, Alan Stein Jr. We just seen him in Nashville
Cool.
at a conference. And he was saying how when he first met Kobe, Kobe was the best basketball player in the world at the time. And he asked him, he said, can I come and watch you practice? And Kobe said, absolutely, sure. He said, I'll be at the gym for 4. And he was kind of looking at the calendar because he had the calendar there and he was looking at it. He goes, well, you got something at 3:30 p.m. here. Like, how are you going to be there at 4? He goes, no, 4 a.m. So then Alan's, damn, okay, 4 a.m. Perfect. So to pay him respect, he shows up at 3:30. And when he shows up to the gym at 3:30 in the morning from his hotel in a cab, the gym lights are on
Kobe's
and there's a
already
ball dribbling. And so Kobe's warming up for his practice routine. And he's like, damn, there's levels to this. So he's warming up for his practice routine and he watches him. He's like, Kobe wasn't doing anything that is mind blowing. He wasn't doing anything like revolutionary. He was doing stuff that I teach my high school kids how to do, doing the regular drills that I teach high school kids. So then he asked him afterwards, he said, Kobe, you're the best basketball player in the world. I just watched you practice and really it wasn't that revolutionary. Like you weren't doing anything that's crazy. What's the secret here? And Kobe smiled and he winked at him. He said, that's the thing. I don't get bored with the basics.
Oh, that's
I don't
important.
get bored with the basics. He masters them. So it's like just the little things that we're always searching for, like what's going to push us to that next step. But it's the unglorious things, man. It's just like sitting down and like making the content. It's like the door knocking, the calls, setting the appointments to go have a coffee with somebody that you did business with before, meeting a mortgage broker. Like it's not stuff that's glorious, but that's the things that actually change the game for people. It's mastering those basics.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's not always about the fancy stuff. It's about being able to do the basics consistently and at scale.
100%, man. I loved that quote because it's like, there's so many times in business where we're like, I need to do this like one, maybe if I host a big event here. And that's
Find
where
a
my
food
brain
truck to show up to
goes,
my open house.
right, thinking then I'll be the number one agent and then everybody's going to come to me. And that's another thing. That's another fallacy I find we have in business too. Once I do this, then it's all going to pop at once. And once I do that, it's all, but it's never that. I've done podcasts with guys, 100,000 subscribers, and it's like, that's going to blow my channel up. And then I'm like, oh, but it didn't really change things. And you always think there's going to be these big monumental moments, and you always get to them, and it's stacking bricks. It's stacking. There's not one big brick that builds the wall.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah. Well
stacking.
said.
It's the
Yeah.
stacking of the bricks slowly, and it's this long, drawn out process that's not super glorious, but it's fun when you're passionate about it. That's the beauty.
Yeah, it's not always as monumental as you think when you get there. You know what I mean? It's just more or less the process.
It's the process, man. Yeah, it's
You got to fall in love with it.
you have to like even once I hit 1,000 subscribers, it's like, oh, and then I'm like, look at that's one of the biggest like channels for any St. John agent. All the business is going to come to me, but it's like that's never the case. There's always bigger fish. There's always competition, and that's the fun of this business. Is there's always ways to improve, and there's always ways to market better, and there's always ways to find other business. There's just always ways, and there's enough business out there for everybody. And I firmly believe that because there's so many people out there that are buying and selling homes, and they want to deal with some of them don't want a high energy guy like me. And there's somebody out there for that person. There's just
Yeah.
all kinds of business to go around. It's just who's hungry enough to go out there and get it.
Who's hungry enough? I like that. Okay, well, as we come to the end of our podcast, my friend, before we let you go here, is there a golden piece of advice that you can share with maybe somebody in our audience whose their goals to grow within the industry align with your goals? They have the same goals as you, they have the same ambitions. What would be a golden piece of advice you can give to that person?
Find something you enjoy doing. So if it's social media, you're going to get a lot of negative feedback just because there's a lot of people out there that aren't happy with who they are. So when they see you putting yourself out there, they're going to try to stomp in your flame. Just don't let people do that. Just don't listen to the naysayers. If you're going out there with good intentions and you want to honestly help people, pour your heart and soul into it. And just know that it's going to work over the long term. And it's not all going to happen at once. It's a process, and you have to go through that bit of fire. It's like diamonds are built under pressure, right? So you have to kind of have it's the hard things that make you good. It's not going to be easy. It's never easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And what actually happens is you just get better at dealing with it. And it's like I said earlier in the podcast, everybody's hard's different. The first video I did was really hard.
Yeah.
Like I would have been, as I said, I would have been nervous to do this podcast 3 years ago. I would have been like shaking, sweating, like probably like not slept all night. Like, there's a big podcast coming up. And I was like thrilled coming in here. I can't wait to talk to Trevor. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you for a while. I'm excited to get on here and talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to just let people know is I also wasn't comfortable doing this stuff 3 years ago. And I know I said, yeah, I grew up acting. But then you get away from that, and then you have to relearn it. You have to relearn this stuff. So my piece of advice is just find what you enjoy doing and pour your heart and soul into it. And honestly, try to find ways to help people. I find when you're thinking in the mindset, it's not about me, it's about you. How can I make something of value? That, and if you can't think of anything of value at first, maybe you're a new agent. Just show who you are. What are you passionate about? Do you like exercising? Do you like fishing? Do you like running? Do you like maybe like Pokemon? Do you like, I don't know, those ponies? I don't even know what those are called. Like anything, there's like something out there for everybody. Talk about what you're passionate about. Pour yourself into what you're passionate about. Share who you are. And it's like, then you're going to attract other people. So that's a big part of it too, is like building the brand through who you are. And that's
a huge part of it. I think you said it the best is find the part of the business that you enjoy doing, because that's what you're going to do the best at. If you hate cold calling and you're spending 3 hours of your day cold calling, that's probably not the most effective use of your time, because you're not doing it to the best of your ability because you hate doing it. You hate doing it. You're not having fun. So you're not giving it your 100%, right? And there's plenty of ways to gain leads. As you've proven, you don't just have to do, it's not just cold calling, door knocking, and emails. You know what I mean? There's a million different ways you can gather leads. And so don't just solidify that, I've got to do 3 hours of cold calling today. You know what I mean? Because you're not gonna present yourself the way you want to present yourself if you're forcing yourself to do the part of the business you don't like to do. And so that's probably the best piece of advice I've heard yet is find the piece of or the part of the business that you actually enjoy doing.
That. And then also start with taking care of yourself too. Realize that the way that you show up, that's probably a big, huge piece of it too. The way you show up radiates. So if you're not feeling good, Start your day with what makes you feel good. Start your first 30 minutes of your day. And if that's an outside walk, if that's hanging out with the dog, if that's turning on the Xbox, playing Call of Duty, whatever it is that makes you genuinely feel good, start your day with that and then go through the rest of the day riding that energy out. Also, don't let one bad thing mess up the whole day.
Ooh, big one.
Here's a great way to end this.
Big one.
Do the best you can with what you have where you're at.
Black and white.
If you roll with that, do the best you can with what you have where you're at, then that's going to take you so far. And that's a mantra that I just heard in Nashville at a conference I was at too. That's where I'm getting a lot of this stuff off the top of my head. But that was another thing. I think it was Alan Stein Jr., but possibly Napoleon Hill said this at one point too. Do the best you can with what you have where you are at. And if you always go through with that mindset, even if it's just a cell phone, everybody's like, I need to have all this fancy equipment. You can get started with content on your phone. I did. The first video I did was in a basement with my phone. I didn't even have a mic, and I sat on a stool with a painting behind me, and it got like 8,000 views. My first video, and it was like, what? I didn't even know what I edited it on my phone. Took me like 2 hours. My phone crashed 5 times while I was doing it. But it's like, that's where I started. So like, just get started and don't listen to naysayers. Go to the gym, work out, do whatever makes you feel good, and do the best you can with what you have where you're at.
Brandon, if I'm a buyer, seller, or fellow agent listening in at home, in the car, at the office, what would be the best way for them to connect with you?
Absolutely. So I'll just throw my cell phone out there because that's a great way to get connected with me. So my phone number is 1-506-721-9020. You can feel free to give me a call. I would love to talk to anybody that's looking to buy, sell, invest in the New Brunswick area. If you've watched this far in the podcast and just want to call and the breeze, sure, come on. And also too, you can connect on my Facebook, search Brandon Vincent. Instagram, Brandon Vincent, and you can follow on the YouTube channel, Brandon Vincent. If you type that in, Brandon Vincent, New Brunswick. If you type in like St. John, New Brunswick real estate agent, I should be on there in the top videos somewhere. But
you and finding just about everything.
And I'm sure my links will be in the description too. So yeah,
Brandon,
Trevor, thank you so much, man.
Man, thanks again for joining us today. It was an extremely impactful episode. Tons of value given today. Again, I'm your host, Trevor Bigg. Tune in next time for another exciting episode focused on delivering actionable advice delivered straight from the top 1%.
Thanks for tuning in to Collaborate, where we're not just talking about success, we're building it. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and never miss out on the insights that could take your real estate career to the next level. And remember, this is a space for the elite. If you're ready to level up and become part of a global network of top performing agents, join us at the Global Group for exclusive tools, resources, and opportunities to collaborate with the best in the business. I'm Trevor Bigg, and remember, if you haven't been invited to this show yet, you need to grind harder, hustle smarter, and get those numbers up, because this is a space reserved for the elite.